Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Founder, and today we're here at the Yoga Collective at the Arcade Independence Square. Join us as we discover its origin and find out the people behind this venture. So joining us today are two international yoga trainers, Aaron Vikramasekara and his wife, Annie Vikramasekara. Hi guys, welcome to the show. How are you all doing today?
Hey man,
well.
it's good to be here.
Yeah, good to be
we're
here.
doing well.
Thanks for having us.
No worries.
Okay, so moving on with the questions. Who are Aaron and Annie without the titles?
You want to go first?
You go.
Okay. Very interesting question. I think it's quite yogic, your question. It's quite deep. To me, I think without my titles, like my name, my job, and my roles in this life, I think I am just a soul seeking ways to be happy and be whole. And I think because my journey started in learning about myself and understanding what made me unhappy, where I want to go in my life. And I don't think that would change regardless of what I'm doing or how old I am. And continuously to kind of find ways to be wholesome, happy in a sustainable way, to be content, and then to create that for others as well.
Nice. What about you, Aaron?
So deep. Yeah. So, when all my titles and my name and everything that I have done and everything is taken away, I guess I'm just an individual looking for happiness, looking for connection, and also looking to create a better create a better space for everyone who I know, who's in my circle, who's around me, to elevate their life to a different level, to a higher level.
So I feel like at the end of the day, all we need to do is just be happy, right? Then to be happy.
Oh, everyone is seeking happiness. It's always a pursuit
One
of
way or
happiness.
another.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, how did this yoga journey start, and what's the origin story behind it actually?
Okay, so I'll start this one.
Sure.
So to be honest, when this whole yoga journey started for me, I was never into yoga. Yeah, I was one of those guys that didn't like yoga. You know, I was this I was heavily into the gym. So I was really big. I was like close to 100 kg of just muscle, and I was into powerlifting, bodybuilding, and things like this. I could barely touch my knees. My joints hurt every day. I lived a very unhealthy lifestyle, even though I looked great. Right? One of the things that put me off from yoga is the fact that I had a certain image I needed to keep up, and see, for yoga, generally a misconception is that you have to be flexible to start, and like at a certain point, like when you start, you will look, it'll be a little embarrassing. So rather than going through with that, I decided that I'm going to just bash on it and and just continue that way. Fast forward a few years later, I was a Muay Thai fighter, I was a model, all of that stuff, and I was working down south at a resort, and the resort was taken over by a teacher training, kind of like what we do now, where teachers come and they teach other people to become teachers, right? And she was one of the teachers that took over the resort that I was working at. Yeah, started practicing with them. This was an advanced teacher training, and I couldn't even touch my knees, let alone like do any sort of advanced yoga moves. And these guys were all advanced, they were popping up into handstands, and that was an eye-opener for me as to how disconnected I am with my body, right? So I also didn't like my job very much. So yeah, so I decided when they came back next year that I was going to quit my job and become a yoga teacher. And I did. Yeah.
So yoga was your escape?
Yoga was my escape, and kind of like saved my life actually. Yeah, in more ways than one.
Interesting, dude.
Yeah.
So Annie, what about you? What's your story behind?
picking up on Aaron's story about how yoga saved his life, and I feel like yoga has also saved my life in one way or another. So before yoga, I was a professional dancer. I was classically trained in ballet, and then I was a professional contemporary dancer in Canada. But also my body was broken. I was like always having injuries, and also towards the end of my career, I danced for 10 years professionally. I just did not like it anymore. Like I would walk into the audition room and I just don't feel inspired. I didn't want it. And then at the same time, I was going through a really bad breakup, and I just felt like everything was like just shattered. Like my idea of what my life would be was just shattered. And then I was really drawn to yoga. So I went to different yoga classes in Canada, and I don't remember what yoga I did. I don't remember what moves I did. I just remember feeling really safe and really belonged in the room. And then that's when I decided to become a yoga teacher. I thought I was just going to go on a journey. I didn't know what yoga is going to bring me, but it has brought me nothing less but everything I can ever imagine and more. Obviously, I met my husband while teaching teacher training in Sri Lanka, but it also brought me around the world to teach. So I started teaching globally soon after my teacher training, and I've been to so many countries where I just get to meet other human beings also in this journey. And that made me realize is like, yeah, like it looks like I'm on this side of the room teaching, but we're all just together seeking ways to be happier in a way that is just contentment, like sustainable, being whole. So that is my journey in yoga.
Wow, interesting, Annie. So you guys recently actually started this yoga center, the Yoga Collective, if I'm not mistaken. And so tell us about how you started this. So what started this new chapter?
Okay. So like Annie said, because we are yoga teacher trainers, and we travel to a lot of countries all around the world. So pre-COVID, we used to travel to around 12 to 15 countries a year, and we didn't have a break. We would go from one country to another country, doing these teacher training programs that where we certify teachers. Fast forward a couple of years later, COVID happens, and then we are forced to root down, which was actually a blessing in disguise for us, because we were able to transition some of our trainings online, and I was able to start teaching in Sri Lanka, because I always wanted to build up the community here. So why we started this is because we feel the need where we feel the need that the local community has, like we see a void that needs to be filled, in the sense where local community needs to engage in more yoga practices, right? What happens now in Sri Lanka is a lot of the yoga practices that we have in this country are catered to tourism, right? So you would have a hotel that offers yoga, but it's not in-depth yoga, and like what we feel is like a lot of the local community is afraid to engage with. So we decided to create this space to help build it up, to help build the local community, to help create a safe space where everyone feels welcome to come and practice and engage in a journey of really finding their self through connecting with their practice and connecting with their body.
And adding on top of that is that not only we feel like there's a disconnection between what yoga is and what the current local community understands, there's also a misconception in terms of is yoga religious, or do you have to be ultra spiritual to do yoga? And our approach is always based in modern approach and based in inclusive, being inclusive. So to us, it's all about encouraging people to come on the mat, regardless of their intentions, but then is to deepen understanding of themselves. And then yoga is just a method. It's just a method for them to grow, to understand who they are. And then again, it's an upward spiral. we are very community inspired. We want people to come. We want them to smile and laugh and do silly things. But showing up is basically most of the practice, where don't be afraid, we're here for you, and just come and try it out.
Actually, like this is a question that I actually kind of thought about it as well. Are there like any religious roots that trace yoga? As in, like, does yoga come from some religious roots, or is there something like that?
So yoga came from the Vedic tradition, where if you were to follow it to the most authentic path, it is following the Vedic path, which there's a single belief that there's a higher consciousness and then we're living in this material world. Our idea of yoga is the union of how to be a human being. Like, forget about being a spiritual being. How do we become a better version of ourselves? How do you become physically more well-being and your mental well-being coming together? Like, be good in this world first, show up on your mat and understand who you are before you worry about the higher power, I guess.
One of the main principles that we have here is we do not follow any kind of dogmatic approaches, right? We try to we educate people, and we always tell people to use what you can from these practices to make your life better. Just because you practice yoga doesn't mean that you need to only eat vegetables. You only
meditate for hours a day.
You need to go into a cave and repent about all the things that you have done wrong. No, it's not. It's none of that. It's about connecting with yourself through your yoga practice. And your yoga practice can be anything, whether it's like doing a vinyasa flow, whether it's stretching, whether it's
drinking a cup of tea.
Just being a yogi or having yogic practices doesn't come from having a yoga practice on the mat. There are so many principles, whereas like you can be brushing your teeth and still be yogic about it. Yeah.
I feel like it's all about just connecting with yourself, right? No matter whatever you do.
Yeah, and being mindful, being connecting with who you are.
So guys, what were some obstacles that y'all faced throughout the whole journey as yoga instructors?
So to me, my obstacles came early in my career, where I took everything too seriously. I studied the scripture, I listened to certain teachers, and then I became a vegan. I meditate every day. I wouldn't go out and have fun. I wouldn't have a drink if I want to. And to the point where I felt very detached from this world. Yeah. And as well, the vegan diet didn't suit my body, and I was just shutting down. I was getting sick all the time, and I was also teaching a lot, and I didn't have that energy, but that all came from my choices. And I felt like because I was a vegan, because I meditate every day, I was a good yogi. And I felt like that was an obstacle to become a good teacher, because I didn't really turn that wisdom from scripture, turn that knowledge into my personal philosophy. And I was really just teaching by the books. And I overcame the obstacle when I realized that I have a choice as a teacher to understand what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And then I have that power to share with my student and go, you can have a choice as well. But before you decide what works for you, what is your truth, you need to try out, and you need to be real to see, does it actually elevate your life? If it's not, then it wouldn't be a smart choice. So I didn't really understand that until I met him, and he really pointed out to me that, you don't have to follow the books in order to be a good yoga teacher. You have to be authentic and truthful.
So,
good job.
Saved you.
Would you like to add something to?
Yeah, so when it comes to obstacles, my biggest obstacle really came from overcoming certain stereotypes. See, when I started practicing yoga and teaching yoga, I was still pretty into working out, not just doing yoga as a workout. I still like to go to the gym. I still like to engage in other kind of physical activities. I still like to eat meat, for instance, right? And so my biggest obstacle was, do I continue in being the person who I know I am, and also incorporate yoga into it to create a package that I can be comfortable and confident with, or do I just simply go with the flow and stop eating meat, stop doing everything else, and just be the yoga teacher that
What people want
the
him to
stereotypical.
be.
be the stereotypical yoga teacher, or the yoga teacher that comes into their mind, the picture that comes into your mind when they would say a male yoga teacher. So luckily enough, I decided to go with the authentic me, me being me, and I was able to make it convincing enough that to convince myself and to convince everyone around me that you can do both. You can be the flexible yogi, you can be the strong flexible yogi, you can be the strong flexible yogi that eats meat. You don't have to just chew on a carrot all day. So and there's always criticism, there's always this, but then when it comes to life, like, you're hardly going to ever go through life without getting criticized, right? So you might as well do something that you believe in and make it work.
So somehow you managed to reap the benefits of both worlds.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah.
Great, awesome. So moving on, if you were to go back in time, would there be anything that the both of you would like to change, actually? So this is kind of a interesting question.
I would go back in time and tell myself to not take things so seriously. I really would, even in my teaching, because when I was teaching trainings early in my career, I made everything so tough and so disciplined and so serious. And to me, like, I would go back in time and just tell myself, like, relax. Every student who comes through the door, they are at a different point in their journey, and they may not listen to everything you say and do everything you say, which they shouldn't, right? You should be present to them, and eventually maybe something will pass through, but it's not up to you to kind of mold them and make them into the person you think they should be. And also, I would tell myself to be less serious with myself, be more playful. And again, I have to give him so much credit because I feel like I'm a lot more playful, enjoy life a lot more now with our dogs. I've decided to do the interview with our dogs, and I just think that when we realize that life isn't so serious, everything starts to flow, because you start realizing what resonates with you, the people who you attract, they become your tribe. And if you're too serious, you're not going to attract the people that you want in your life. So I would recommend myself to just take it easy a little bit more. Exactly. Yeah.
To be honest, like, when it comes to experience-wise, everything I've experienced, everything I've gone through, the hardships that I've gone through, I wouldn't say I want to change much of it, because as hard as it might have been, the mistakes that I've made, the choices that I have made, like, all of it have made me who I am today, And like right now, I feel like I'm at a point where, I'm very confident and happy to be who I am, because I feel like this is the best version of myself so far. But the only thing that I would like to change is,
Your wife.
I would. The only thing that I would like to change is if I could go back in time and tell myself to take care of my body a little more. I haven't been the most careful with my body. Like I said, I was a Muay Thai fighter professionally. I had so many injuries, like, for instance, like, I have a broken jaw with hanging off my face. I have so many broken ribs. I've broken my wrist. I popped my shoulder out of its socket. Like, I have like 3 or 4 herniated discs in my spine. At one point, I had a fractured hip bone. Like, all of these, I had so many injuries. So just to take care of my body better. When I was in the gym, I could have, been, worked out smarter, which I didn't do. as like all guys do. You work out, ego lifts, all of that stuff. So yeah, so yoga has actually saved me from these problems too. Obviously, I still deal with them on a day-to-day basis, but you know, it's helped me keep them in check, keep them in control. So yeah, I would like to go back in time and tell myself to take it easy on the physical stuff. But yeah, it is what it is.
Either way, right, things happen for a reason, and here you guys with your own yoga studio and you're doing great. So
Thank you.
that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to an interesting question actually. How did you guys meet and where did the love story start?
Why did you laugh like that?
You
Okay,
start.
I shall start. I shall
You
start because
now.
I don't know
add on in
what I don't
case
know what
you-
he's gonna say.
I'll add on whatever you miss, so choose to miss.
So once again, we met in the south part of Sri Lanka, and he was at the time managing a boutique hotel. And my co-trainer and I at the time, we rented the entire villa hotel out to run a teacher training. And the whole time, so the whole group of girls, there are like 30 girls, and then myself and the co-trainer who was a male, all the girls are all over him. You know, they're all just waiting to talk to him after class and waiting to have a meal and I was just observing this whole thing.
It's a hard life.
It was a tough life for him, yeah. And as a teacher, holding space for the group, I'm just like, girls are cute, they're chasing one boy. But then in the end, it was like I would say halfway through the training, just by chance, we ended up chatting at breakfast, and we kept chatting, and to the point where all of the other staff is like, get back to work, because that conversation didn't stop. So we decided to go out for coffee, and then we still didn't know if that was a date. So I still remember I paid for coffee, but I think
we split the bill.
yeah, right? Yeah, we split the bill. Yeah, we split the bill.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is not a date. I'm a teacher.
The
This is so
funniest-
professional.
The funniest
Yeah.
thing was we didn't realize it at the time, but the day we went for coffee was actually February 14th.
It was Valentine's Day.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was
It
awkward.
wasn't planned.
It was awkward.
It was
We were
not
like,
planned.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You sure that was a
It wasn't planned.
It was not
Okay.
planned.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we just thought, we even asked each other in the date, like, what kind of person you like, what are your goals in life? But it's more just chatting. Like, we weren't really like dating or anything. And then he asked me out for dinner
Yeah.
a few days later.
Yeah.
And then we started dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, I was still traveling for teaching. So I would go, let's say I fly to Mexico and then I come back but then I keep coming back to see him. I think that's when he got the hint that I
Yeah,
like him a
so-
lot. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
actually happened was
The real version.
we're
Yeah.
gonna skip over a lot of keep it
Yeah.
decent. But
Yeah.
the real version is what happened was so we started going out, and then she was still doing the thing that we currently do together at the moment, right? Where we travel around and teach. I was living in the south of Sri Lanka, doing the hotel thing, and so every time the first time she went, we were all mature about it.
We were so
all
mature.
we
We're like,
you know what?
no strings attached.
You go, you do your thing. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna do my thing. And if we miss each other, let's call each other and then figure it out. 2 days go by. 2 days go by, and she's like, we're like, oh.
He's like, when are you coming back?
She's like, we're both like, oh, we miss each other. I'm like, so why don't you come back? And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna book my ticket. And then she cuts the line, and then she calls me back. So I'm about to pay. Are you sure? I was like,
You
yeah.
want to see me?
And then she booked her tickets and came back.
Came back, yeah.
We lived in the south of Sri Lanka for a while. Then I decided to take on yoga as my career path as well. So the rest was history. And now we're married.
Yeah, now we're married.
3 years into,
Well, together for 5.
together for
married
5,
for
married for 3,
Yeah.
2 dogs later.
But to be honest with you, seriously, this love story wouldn't have happened if he didn't take the leap. Because, if he didn't decide to go into the yoga, give yoga a try. Like as much as like yoga saved his life, yoga also saved or nurtured our relationship. Because with my traveling schedule and then the truth is like he really just practiced, and his practice like literally is like skyrocketed, and the very fact that we're able to co-teach together and travel together, it's such a blessing, because it wouldn't be possible if he didn't put in the work and take that leap of faith, really.
Yeah. And I feel like just from us going through all of this yoga stuff together and traveling the world, we were able to keep each other in check. When it comes to yoga, there's a lot of fluff, a lot of people go on this yoga journey and get lost in the sauce. They lose the plot. So we were able to keep each other in check and transition that and convert this into like a life worth living.
Yeah, and the yoga collective is like that next step in our relationship, like. Because it's like a baby. It's like you literally have to nurture, you have to grow it, you have to put all your effort in it. And we make sure we have that communication. It's like we check in with each other, like how are you today? Are you tired? Like how can I help you? And we do that so often that it just feels like such a good team. And we feel so solid about building this space together, because without having the strong team, we can't grow the community, because the community will sense it, they will feel it.
Wow, dude. Honestly, a remarkable answer. It's just how the chemistry between you guys is built into this whole subject. So that's just really interesting to hear, actually.
Thank you.
So Aaron, Annie, moving on to the final question, actually. What would you like to tell the younger generation, or any person, actually, with regard to following their passion? And do you think it's worth trying regardless of the age?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, this is actually quite a relevant question in the context of the Sri Lankan market.
Yeah, society. I feel like a lot of people are tackling that issue right now.
Yeah. And to be honest, like the best thing that could happen to me was my eyes being open to the fact that there is a career to be made outside of the standard structure that society sets you up to believe in, that you have to go a certain way, you have to do a certain job to be successful. This was actually shown to me when I was working down south, because I was working 12 to 14 hour days, and I was barely making much, in the global scale. It was okay, but it was in the global scale, it really wasn't much, and I was killing myself, lighting the candle at both ends, trying to hustle as hard as I can. And the people who came and stayed at the hotel, they were doing more creative jobs. They were actually, enjoying their life, and also having time, to go on vacation. Even though, and even when they were working, they were also doing something that they loved. So this actually was able to show me that there are careers to be had where you can actually enjoy what you do, and also make enough money, make enough resources to support your lifestyle and live a happy life, And so whenever I meet anyone who asks me for advice, I always tell them to pursue your career in something that you love to do, because
something you're passionate about.
Something that you're passionate about, and it's not easy. Sometimes you can be passionate about something, but there's also a lot of work to be put in.
Yeah.
You have to pursue your passion hard enough to be the best at what you do, or at least get up there. So if you're willing to put in that work, you can definitely make it work. There might be some years of hardship, but it's worth it. It's worth a try. It's definitely. Because if you do make it a success, you won't feel like you're working for even a day of your life,
Annie, would you like to add something?
Yeah, So I have always been fortunate enough. Ever since I was little, I wanted to be a dancer since I was 12, and my parents supported that. They really encouraged me. Like coming from Asian Chinese culture, they're really open-minded parents, and so I've always firmly believed in pursuing your passion. But then as I grow into who I am today, I realize what Aaron said is that yes, you pursue your passion, but you have to be willing to to do the boring work. Because even if it's passionate and it's not like glamorous and happy every single minute. Like
There's always ups and downs, right?
there's always ups and downs, but because you love it so much that you're able to bear through the downs, and then you can enjoy the ups. And then last thing I want to tell the young generation is that because there's social media now, there's the power of social media, each and every one of us have a free platform to create a huge community, right? Maybe it's from TikTok, maybe it's from Instagram. But then it's to put that energy, if you are able to create that community, use it for higher good, right? Send a positive message, trying to help each other, support each other. Because you can only go so high, you can only go so far if it's all about you. Even if it's about passion, that passion has to come from a place of how can I help? How can I make this world better? And I think that would just exponentially grow you as a person, as an influencer, as a digital creator. To be creative, you have to help other people. Otherwise, it's just a dead end. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Very nice,
Young
guys.
people.
So guys, we'll be moving towards the end of today's session. And Aaron, Annie, thank you guys so much for joining with us today. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we wrap up the session?
So something small. Just going to say that if you guys want to try out yoga, come to the Yoga Collective. Just a common misconception is that you need to be flexible in order to start yoga, but actually why you need to start yoga is if you're inflexible, right? So don't be embarrassed, just come, we'll take you through the basics and see how you like it. Yeah.
It's a great experience.
And the only way to get started is to start. So,
Exactly.
talk to us, message us, just to see what works for you, and we can give some recommendation. And like Aaron said, we joke, not being flexible and not doing yoga is too dirty to take a shower. Doesn't make too much sense. So if that is one reason stopping you from starting your yoga journey, just understand that this space is here for you, there's no judgment, and we'll be there for you, regardless of where you're at.
And also just reach out to us, have a chat with us, tell us your concerns, and we'll talk you through.
Thank you so much, guys. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, man.
Thank you.
So that's all for today. Thank you all for joining us here at the Yoga Collective at the Arcade Independence Square. This is Sithika Ranasinghe signing out from the Founder Lifestyle.